Hi, my name is Lisa, here from Monarch Butterfly Land Saving Society. I'm making this video to give instructions to the people working with me, and of course the information is available to anyone who is excited about our work. I've been thinking a lot about how we're spending our money and in what way we're using the money to regenerate the desert lands so that they're more fruitful and healthy and providing sustenance to all life in the desert to ease all the suffering and to make a healthier climate and bring back the freshwater rains in areas that are in a serious state of deprivation. During this process, many people have thought the best way to proceed would be to plant trees and certain types of plants that would immediately aid the environment or bring in food for people or animals, but that's the man-made approach and not necessarily the environmental engineer, which are the animal approach. And the idea that I have come up with, or what I have learned through my efforts, is that nothing will work at all if the animals are deprived. They live outdoors, we live mostly indoors, their home, and all of their instincts and all of their education and everything they know is entwined with the great outdoors. Everything we know is more entwined with a different type of social interaction, and there's no way that we can know what they know as far as what they need to have homes, habitats, places where they can procreate, and also where they can prepare for certain seasons where they act differently in the cold weather as opposed to the hot weather, and where they can also procreate and grow their own food and also procreate food that works with other life, since in some ways they create an interrelated environment. So when I spend money each month with certain people and fund them and ask them to think of ways to improve the environment in desert lands, I think the most important thing is to think of animal life and that is being deprived, whether it's the butterflies, the birds, and the bees and the bats, whether it's the rodent population or the insects or the reptiles, the snakes, or whether it's the larger animals like the goats and the horses and the oxen, or even the much larger animals. When people have gone forward and planted trees to offer shelter or protection or cool the environment or bring in rain in the desert, in many cases the trees get eaten up by bands of roving goats who are starving, and they did not build that habitat, so maybe they have no respect for that habitat, and it's not necessarily right if the ground is unstable to put a big tree right into an unstable ground. The most important thing is to think small and grow big and start at the very bare minimum and hope that the small animals will take up, and then the larger animals and the medium-sized animals will take up. So with the money that I have spent, I think that the best thing to do would be to throw down certain types of seeds and grains and stalk beginnings, or the beginnings of stalks, onto the ground in areas where there is some hope that they'll take root, maybe where there is some green life or some moisture or the soil isn't so bad, and work where there is something to work with, and I hope it will grow outward into the areas that are very barren. So I would throw down grains like the seeds of wheat or oats or corn or rye or barley or rice. I would throw down the seeds or beginnings of herbs like thyme and rosemary and parsley and basil and arugula and fennel and the different types of herbs that you can plant. There are so many of them. Clover, they go on and on. And I would also plant the beginnings of stalks like celery and fennel and rhubarb. And if you had a fully functional area that would accept and grow these things, the stalks, the grains, and the herbs, slowly over time, especially if you entice in birds and bees and butterflies who drink nectar, and would strengthen if you put out nectar. And the nectar we like is things like honey, warmed in warm water, mixed in and then hung up, or fresh fruit hung from a tree, like oranges just hung up in a tree with a string or a wire, or grapefruits, or pieces of maybe melon, or other. It's very inexpensive to make nectar. You can use maple syrup, put it in warm water, and then put up nectar with a bit of maple syrup, which is very, very organic to the maple tree and is perfect to put up. It's not anything that's a man type food. It's definitely an animal food. I feel that if you entice the birds in with nectar, and the butterflies and the bees, who obviously pollinate and bring in the sweet things are enticed by the sweet things like that, they will take the seeds that you throw down and help them procreate. The grains, like the oats and the barley and the rice and the wheat and the corn, the stalks like celery and rhubarb. I don't really know how the beginnings of those are. I haven't done a lot of studying in the stalks. And also the herbs. If you entice in birds and procreators, and they spread the seeds and sow the seeds of the herbs and the stalks and the grains, then a huge grassland can grow, and that is the type of food that the medium-sized animals and the large animals need. From that, all kinds of moisture will come, all kinds of insect populations will grow. The insects cleanse the ground and the oceans. They eat up the garbage, the waste, and they procreate methane and fertilizer, and they put the seeds right back into the soil. Everything gets fuller and cleaner and better when there's a large insect population. They come with the grasses, the stalks, and the grains and the herbs, and from that, the rodents then can do the work that they do. They burrow under the ground and they aerate the soil with their oxygen, and they do a lot of procreation themselves, fertilizing and strengthening the soil. The roots of these grasses will create a network that will stabilize the desert environment and will stop all the blowing sand and will change it to a healthier soil. Then from that, the wilder animals, the bigger animals, the smaller animals will have a huge array of food to eat from all the herbs, the stalks, and the variety of grasses and grains. And then once the animal population is in a state of sustainability and stability, then you can be sure that things like forests and trees and crop and agriculture will be much more successful. Right now, agriculture and trees and things that are for man are being eaten by the animals. If you put pesticides on them to avoid that, then the animals go hungry, and in a way we're taking food from them, and it's not necessarily that great to eat food with pesticides on it. So I think the overall answer is to take care of the animal population, every type of animal, every size, from the insects on up, and then watch the grasslands and the herbs and the wheat grow, and from that the whole ecosystem is born, because once the animals procreate, which they do, and build habitats, they'll do all the rest of the work automatically. So and what I'm saying is, I hope that the money given this month to my contacts working in the South Sudan and moving into Egypt, and my contact in Kenya, and my contact in Nigeria moving to Niger, and also working in Ghana, and my contact in the Ivory Coast, starting to spread the word and maybe do things along the coast, which we're thinking of to help procreate and strengthen the mangrove population through the feeding of the birds that live along the coast, and also my new contact in Senegal, who is starting and hopefully will work along the coast. I'm hoping that you'll use these ideas and think only in terms of strengthening the animal population with the help of the birds and the bees and the people from above, that sow the seeds and do a lot of flying, and strengthening them and helping them and enticing them is through the methods I've been saying, offering them fruits and nectar and the things that make them happy and healthy, and then they will sow those seeds you throw down and help procreate the starts of the grasslands I'm talking about. I hope that that will be really good advice for the coming months of the work we're doing, and the same also for my friend in Nepal doing that same work. The other thing I've learned is that working from higher elevations sometimes has an incredible effect, because if you change the weather or the patterns from above, it affects everything below, and it has a huge effect. We're working in the San Gabriel Mountains in Los Angeles, and the lower elevations are feeling an impact from that. The migratory birds have come in, the cloud cover has changed, and it's affecting the basin areas. So I would say that if you live near an elevated area, it would help a lot to do these things up in the higher elevations too. That has a huge effect. So I hope this is good advice for the coming month. Thank you.